The courtroom fell dead silent. Every person stopped breathing as they watched a tiny 11-year-old girl with long brown hair walk toward the front. Her small shoes clicked against the wooden floor. She wore a simple red dress that were too big for her thin frame. In her trembling hands, she clutched a worn folder against her chest. Judge Harrison, an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes, sat behind his tall wooden desk. He wore his black judge's robe and looked down at the little girl with raised eyebrows. "Young lady, what are you doing? Sit down. This is a serious court." "Your Honor," the girl interrupted, her voice shaking but clear. "My name is Rose Parker. That man over there is my father, Daniel Parker." She pointed to a thin, tired-looking man in an old gray suit sitting at the defendant's table. "And I will defend my father myself, because no one else will tell the truth." The entire courtroom erupted. People gasped and whispered loudly. Some stood up from their seats. "Order." Judge Harrison banged his gavel hard. The sharp crack silenced everyone. Mr. James, the prosecutor in his expensive suit, jumped up with an amused smile. "Your Honor, this is ridiculous. The child should be removed." "I have proof," Rose shouted, holding up her folder. "Proof that my dad is innocent. Proof that shows who really stole the money." Complete silence. Judge Harrison stared at her. The prosecutors stopped smiling. Daniel, Rose's father, had tears streaming down his face. "Rose, baby, you don't have to." Rose turned to him, her own eyes wet with tears. "Yes, I do, Dad. If the grown-ups won't fight for you, then I will." The judge took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. Finally, he looked at Rose again. "Child," he said slowly, "do you understand what you're saying? Your father is accused of stealing $50,000. Very smart lawyers have looked at this case. The evidence against him is very strong." "The evidence is fake," Rose said, her voice steady now. "And I can prove it." Another gasp filled the room. Judge Harrison leaned forward, studying the little girl's determined face. Something in her eyes made him pause. After a long moment he spoke. "I've been a judge for 32 years and I've never done this before. But I'm going to let you speak." He pointed at Mr. Roberts, Daniel's nervous lawyer. "You'll help her present her evidence properly." Mr. James stood up, his face red. "Your Honor, I object. This is against all procedures." "Objection noted." "Sit down, Mr. James." The judge's voice was firm. "This is my courtroom." Rose felt relief wash over her. She turned to her father one last time. Daniel smiled through his tears, the first real smile she'd seen in months. His lips moved silently. "I love you." Rose wiped her tears and faced the judge again. "Your Honor," she said, opening her folder, "I need to tell you about my father. About who he really is. About what really happened. And about the person who destroyed our lives." The courtroom was silent. Every eye was on the small girl with the worn folder and the brave heart. Hello friends. Welcome to our story. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? New York? London? Maybe Canada or Jamaica? We want to know. Rose and her father Daniel lived in a small apartment on the quiet side of the city. The apartment had 2 bedrooms, a tiny kitchen, and a living room with old furniture. The paint on the walls was fading and the couch had a small tear on one side, but it was home. And they were happy there. Daniel worked as an accountant at a medium-sized company downtown. Every morning he would wake up early, make breakfast for Rose and pack her lunch for school. He wore his best suits to work and always kissed Rose on the forehead before leaving. "Be good at school today, sweetheart," he would say with a warm smile. "I will, Dad. Love you," Rose would reply, hugging him tight. Rose's mother had died when Rose was only 5 years old. A car accident. Rose remembered her mother's laugh and her warm hugs, but the memories were fading like old photographs. Daniel kept a picture of her on the living room shelf, a beautiful woman with brown hair and kind eyes, smiling at the camera. Sometimes Rose would catch her father staring at that picture with sad eyes. But whenever he noticed Rose watching, he would smile and pull her into a hug. "Your mom would be so proud of the young lady you're becoming," he would whisper. They didn't have much money. Daniel's salary was enough to pay rent, buy food, and cover Rose's school supplies, but there wasn't much left over. Rose wore hand-me-down clothes from her older cousins. They couldn't afford to eat at restaurants or go on vacations like other families. But Rose didn't care. Every Saturday, Daniel would take her to the public library, and they would check out books together. On Sundays, they would walk to the park with old bread and feed the ducks. Sometimes, on special occasions, Daniel would buy a small pizza, and they would eat it together while watching movies on their old television. "We don't have much, Rose," Daniel would tell her, "but we have each other. And that's worth more than all the money in the world." Rose believed him. Her father was her hero. He worked hard, he was honest, and he loved her more than anything. Every night before bed, Daniel would sit on the edge of Rose's bed, and they would talk about their day. "What did you learn at school today?" he would ask. Rose would tell him about her math class or the story her teacher read or the game she played at recess. Daniel would listen to every word like it was the most important thing in the world. Then he would pray with her. "Thank you for keeping us safe today. Thank you for our home and our food. Please watch over us tomorrow and always." Life was simple. Life was peaceful. Life was good. But then, 7 months ago, everything changed. It started when Daniel came home from work one evening looking more excited than Rose had seen him in years. His eyes were bright and he had a huge smile on his face. "Rose, guess what happened today?" he said, picking her up and spinning her around. "What? What happened, Dad?" Rose laughed, holding onto his shoulders. Daniel set her down and knelt in front of her, holding both her hands. "Remember how I told you I've been working on a big project at work? Well, my boss's business partner, Mr. Richard Stone, noticed my work. He said I'm smart and talented, and he wants to start a new business with me." Rose's eyes went wide. "Really? That's amazing, Dad." "Yes. Mr. Stone said we could be partners. Equal partners. He'll put in the money to start the company, and I'll handle all the accounting and financial planning. If it works, we could make real money, Rose. We could move to a better apartment. I could buy you new clothes. We could save for your college." Tears of joy filled Daniel's eyes. After all these years of struggling, finally things are going to get better for us. Rose hugged her father tight. "I'm so proud of you, Dad." Over the next few weeks, Daniel worked harder than ever. He would come home late at night, tired but happy, with papers and folders under his arm. He would sit at their small kitchen table, going over numbers and contracts while Rose did her homework beside him. "Dad, you should rest," Rose would say, worried about how tired he looked. "I will, sweetheart. I just need to make sure everything is perfect. Mr. Stone is trusting me with a lot of money. I have to do this right." Mr. Richard Stone was a wealthy businessman in his 50s. He had gray hair, expensive suits, and a big smile that showed his white teeth. He drove a luxury car and wore a gold watch that probably cost more than Daniel made in a year. The first time Rose met him was when he came to their apartment to discuss business with her father. "So this is your daughter," Mr. Stone said, shaking Rose's hand. "Your father talks about you all the time. Says you're the smartest girl in your class." Rose smiled shyly. "Thank you, sir. Please call me Mr. Stone. Your dad and I are partners now." He turned to Daniel. "You're a lucky man, Daniel. Family is everything." Daniel smiled proudly. "She's my whole world." Mr. Stone seemed nice. He brought Rose a small gift, a book about science, and told her to study hard. "Education is the key to success," he said. Rose liked him, and her father trusted him completely. The new business was called Stone and Parker Financial Services. Mr. Stone put $50,000 into the business account to get started. Daniel's job was to manage all the money, pay bills, handle taxes, and keep perfect records of every dollar spent. "This is my chance to build something real," Daniel told Rose one night. "To give you a better life. To make your mother proud." For 2 months, everything went well. The business started getting clients. Money was coming in. Daniel worked day and night, keeping perfect records of everything. He was so careful, so honest, so determined to make it work. Then one Monday morning, everything fell apart. Daniel was at work when 2 police officers walked into the office. They walked straight to his desk while everyone watched. "Daniel Parker?" one officer said. "Yes." Daniel stood up, confused. "You're under arrest for theft and fraud." Daniel's face went pale. "What? There must be some mistake." "You have the right to remain silent." The officer began reading him his rights while putting handcuffs on Daniel's wrists. Daniel's co-workers stared in shock. Some whispered to each other. Others pulled out their phones to record. "Please, there's been a mistake," Daniel said desperately. "I haven't stolen anything. Check the records. Check everything." But the officers didn't listen. They led him out of the building in handcuffs while people watched and whispered. At school that day, Rose was called to the principal's office. When she walked in, she saw a woman in a gray suit waiting for her. "Hello, Rose. My name is Mrs. Henderson. I'm from Child Services." Rose's heart started beating fast. "Where's my dad? Is he okay?" Mrs. Henderson's face was kind but serious. "Your father has been arrested, sweetie. He's been accused of stealing money from his business." Until this is sorted out, we need to find a temporary place for you to stay. No. Rose's eyes filled with tears. My dad didn't steal anything. He would never. He's honest. He's good. I understand you're upset, but I want my dad. Rose cried. Please, I need my dad. But no matter how much Rose cried, no matter how much she begged, they wouldn't listen. That night, Rose stayed with her Aunt Rachel, her father's younger sister. Aunt Rachel lived across town in a small house with her husband and 3 kids. The house was crowded and noisy, but Aunt Rachel tried her best to make Rose comfortable. Your dad's going to be okay, honey, Aunt Rachel said, hugging Rose. This is all just a big misunderstanding. They'll figure it out. But Rose couldn't sleep that night. She lay in the guest room bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about her father. Was he scared? Was he alone? Did he think she believed he was guilty? The next day, Aunt Rachel took Rose to see Daniel at the jail. They sat in a small room separated by thick glass. Daniel sat on the other side wearing an orange jumpsuit. His eyes were red from crying. He looked so tired and broken. Rose picked up the phone on her side of the glass. Daniel picked up his. Dad. Rose's voice cracked. Oh, baby girl. Daniel's tears started falling. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you have to see me like this. Dad, what happened? Why do they think you stole money? Daniel shook his head. I don't know, Rose. Mr. Stone says $50,000 is missing from the business account. The same $50,000 he put in at the beginning. He's saying I took it. But I didn't. I swear to you, I didn't touch that money. I know you didn't, Dad. I know you would never. The police found documents with my signature saying I withdrew the money. But I never signed those papers, Rose. Someone forged my signature. Someone is setting me up. And I think it's Mr. Stone himself. Rose's eyes went wide. Mr. Stone? But why would he? I don't know. But nothing else makes sense. Daniel pressed his hand against the glass. Rose, listen to me. You need to stay with Aunt Rachel and be good. Go to school. Do your homework. Don't worry about me. Oh, I'll figure this out. But Dad, the lawyer they gave me says the trial is in 2 months. He'll help me. We'll prove I'm innocent. Everything will be okay. But Rose could see the fear in her father's eyes. He didn't believe his own words. Their visiting time ended too soon. As the guard led Daniel away, he turned back one more time. I love you, Rose. Always remember that. I love you too, Dad. Rose pressed her hand against the glass, wishing she could hug him one more time. The days that followed were the hardest of Rose's life. At school, kids whispered about her. Some of her friends stopped talking to her. During lunch, she would sit alone at a table in the corner while other kids stared and whispered behind their hands. That's the girl whose dad is a thief, she heard someone say. My mom said he stole a lot of money, another kid whispered. Rose wanted to scream at them. She wanted to tell them her father was innocent. But the words got stuck in her throat and instead tears would fill her eyes. Her teacher, Mrs. Adams, was kind to her. Don't listen to them, Rose, she would say gently. Hold your head high. But it was hard. So hard. Every few days, Aunt Rachel would take Rose to visit Daniel at the jail. Each time, Daniel looked thinner, more tired, more broken. But he would always smile when he saw Rose and ask about school and try to pretend everything was normal. How are your math grades? He would ask. Good, Dad. I got an A on my test. That's my girl. I'm so proud of you. But Rose could see the sadness in his eyes. She could see how this was destroying him. One evening, 3 weeks after Daniel's arrest, Rose overheard Aunt Rachel talking on the phone in the kitchen. Rose was supposed to be doing homework in the living room, but she heard her aunt's worried voice and quietly moved closer to listen. I don't know what to do, Mom, Aunt Rachel said to Rose's grandmother. Daniel's lawyer is useless. The man barely even talks to Daniel. He just keeps saying the evidence is too strong, that Daniel should plead guilty and hope for a lighter sentence. Rose's heart dropped. Plead guilty? But her father wasn't guilty. I know, Aunt Rachel continued. But what can we do? We can't afford a better lawyer. Those fancy lawyers cost thousands of dollars we don't have. Daniel used all his savings trying to start that business with that snake, Mr. Stone. She paused, listening. Yes, I believe Daniel is innocent too. But believing isn't enough. The trial is in 6 weeks, and unless something changes, my brother is going to prison. Rose's hands started shaking. Her father was going to prison. For something he didn't do. And no one could help him. That night, Rose couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the dark ceiling, thinking and thinking. There had to be something she could do. There had to be a way to help her father. But what could an 11-year-old girl do that grown-up lawyers couldn't? Then she remembered something her father always told her. When you have a problem, Rose, don't just worry about it. Think about it. Use your brain. Look for clues. Look for solutions. Clues. Rose sat up in bed. Her father said someone forged his signature. He said the documents were fake. He said Mr. Stone was setting him up. If that was true, there had to be evidence somewhere. Proof. Something that would show the truth. But where? The next day after school, Rose asked Aunt Rachel if they could go back to her old apartment. The landlord let me keep it for 1 more month while we figure things out, Aunt Rachel explained as she unlocked the door. But we'll have to move your father's things out soon if he doesn't come home. The apartment felt cold and empty. It smelled stale, like no one had been there in a long time. Rose walked through the rooms slowly, remembering happier times. The kitchen where Dad made breakfast. The couch where they watched movies. Her bedroom with her stuffed animals still on the bed. I'll be in the living room packing some boxes, Aunt Rachel said. Take your time getting whatever you need from your room, honey. But Rose didn't go to her room. Instead, she went to her father's bedroom. Daniel's room was small and simple. A bed, a dresser, a small desk by the window. On the desk were stacks of papers, bills, receipts, work documents that the police hadn't taken as evidence. Rose sat at the desk and started looking through the papers carefully. Most of it was boring stuff: electricity bills, rent receipts, grocery store receipts. Her father kept records of everything, just like he'd been trained to do as an accountant. Then, at the bottom of one stack, Rose found a folder labeled Stone and Parker Business. Her heart beat faster as she opened it. Inside were copies of contracts, bank statements, and business documents. Rose didn't understand most of it. The language was too complicated, full of words like fiscal responsibility, and capital investment, and fiduciary duties. But she kept looking. Then she found something interesting. It was a copy of the document that said her father had withdrawn the $50,000 from the business account. The document that was being used as evidence against him. Rose stared at her father's signature at the bottom. She had seen her father's signature thousands of times. On permission slips for school. On birthday cards. On the Father's Day cards she made him. She knew how he signed his name. And this signature looked wrong. The D in Daniel was too round. Her father always made sharp, angular Ds. And the P in Parker was too small. Her father's P's were always big and swooping. It was close. Very close. Someone had practiced copying his signature. But it wasn't exact. Rose's hands trembled with excitement. This was proof. This showed the signature was forged. But would anyone believe her? She was just a kid. Adults would probably pat her on the head and say, "That's nice, sweetie," and ignore her. She kept looking through the folder. Near the back, she found bank statements for the business account. She looked at the dates carefully. According to the statements, the $50,000 was withdrawn on March 15th at 2:30 p.m. March 15th. Rose grabbed her backpack and pulled out her school planner. She flipped back to March. On March 15th, she had written, "Dad came to school for parent-teacher conference 2 to 3 p.m. Her heart raced. Her father had been at her school during a parent-teacher conference at the exact time someone was supposedly withdrawing money from the bank. She remembered that day clearly. Her teacher, Mrs. Adams, had wanted to talk to Daniel about Rose's excellent grades and suggest she join the advanced math class. This was proof. Her father couldn't have been at the bank withdrawing money if he was at school with her. Why hadn't his lawyer brought this up? Rose kept digging through papers, her mind racing now. She was looking for something, anything else that could help. Then she found something that made her stop breathing. It was a copy of an email. The police must have missed it when they collected evidence. The email was from Mr. Stone to Daniel, dated February 20th, 3 weeks before the money went missing. The email said, "Daniel, I've been thinking. This partnership isn't working out the way I hoped. I'm going to need my initial investment back soon. Let's discuss how to close the business properly." Rose read it again and again. Mr. Stone wanted his money back. He wanted to close the business. But then, 3 weeks later, he accused Daniel of stealing that same money? That didn't make sense. Unless Mr. Stone took his own money back and then blamed Daniel for it. But why would he do that? Rose thought hard. If Mr. Stone just closed the business normally, he would get his $50,000 back, but that's all. But if he accused Daniel of stealing it, then Daniel would go to jail and Mr. Stone could sue him and maybe get even more money. Plus, maybe Mr. Stone owed people money and needed a way to make it disappear. She didn't know exactly why, but she knew in her heart that Mr. Stone had set her father up. "Rose? You okay in there?" Aunt Rachel called from the living room. Yes. Just a minute. Rose quickly gathered the important papers. The signature document, the bank statement, the email, and a few other things. She stuffed them carefully into her backpack. She needed to show these to someone. Someone who would listen. Someone who could help. But who? Her father's lawyer? The man Aunt Rachel said was useless? The police? They had already decided her father was guilty. Then Rose remembered something her teacher had told the class. If you ever need justice, that's what courts are for. That's what judges do. They listen to evidence and make fair decisions. A judge. She needed to show this evidence to the judge at her father's trial. But the trial was still 5 weeks away. And she was just a kid. Would they even let her talk? Rose made a decision right then. She didn't know how she would do it. She didn't know if anyone would listen to her. But she was going to try. Her father had always fought for her. Now it was her turn to fight for him. Over the next few weeks, Rose worked like she had never worked before. Every day after school, she would go to the public library instead of going straight to Aunt Rachel's house. She told her aunt she was doing homework with a friend, which was sort of true. The library was her friend now. At the library, Rose used the computers to research everything she could about courts and trials and evidence. She read simple legal websites. She watched videos about how courtrooms work. She learned words like defendant, the person accused of a crime, prosecutor, the lawyer trying to prove guilt, evidence, proof that shows what really happened, and testimony, when someone tells what they know. She learned that in a trial, people could present evidence to prove their case. She learned that witnesses could be called to testify. She learned that sometimes, important evidence got missed or ignored. She also went to the library's copy machine and made copies of all the documents she'd found, using the small allowance money Aunt Rachel gave her. She organized everything in a folder, just like her father had taught her to organize her school papers. She made notes in simple language that she could understand. Document 1, forged signature. The signature doesn't match Dad's real signature. The D is too round, the P is too small. Document 2, bank statement timeline. Money withdrawn March 15th at 2:30 p.m. Dad was at parent-teacher conference 2 to 3 o'clock p.m. He couldn't be in two places at once. Document 3, email from Mr. Stone. Shows Mr. Stone wanted his money back. Shows he wanted to close the business. This was 3 weeks before he accused Dad of stealing. Rose also did something else. She visited her father at jail and asked him questions. Important questions. Dad, on March 15th, when you came to my parent-teacher conference, do you remember anything else about that day? Daniel thought hard. Well, after we met with your teacher, we stopped at that coffee shop next to the school. Remember? I bought you a hot chocolate. Do you still have the receipt? Receipt? Daniel looked confused. Why would I? Then his eyes widened. Wait, I use my credit card for everything. The credit card statement would show the transaction. It would prove I was there. Where are your credit card statements? Rose asked excitedly. They should be in my desk drawer at the apartment in a folder labeled Bank Records. Rose, why are you asking all this? Rose squeezed his hand through the glass. I'm helping you, Dad. I'm going to prove you're innocent. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. Rose, sweetheart, this is too much for you too. No, Dad. You've always taken care of me. Now I'm going to take care of you. The next time Aunt Rachel took her to the apartment, Rose found the credit card statements. And there it was, a charge at Corner Coffee Shop on March 15th at 2:47 p.m., right near the school, at the exact time someone was supposedly withdrawing money from the bank across town. More proof. Rose added it to her folder. 2 weeks before the trial, Rose visited Daniel's lawyer, Mr. Roberts, at his small office downtown. Aunt Rachel had agreed to take her, though she didn't think it would help much. That man barely returns my phone calls, Aunt Rachel muttered as they climbed the stairs to the second-floor office. Mr. Roberts's office was tiny and messy. Papers were stacked everywhere. The desk was covered with coffee cups and folders. Mr. Roberts himself was a young man, maybe 30 years old, with messy blonde hair and tired eyes. He looked overwhelmed and stressed. Can I help you? He asked, barely looking up from his computer. Mr. Roberts, I'm Rose Parker. Daniel Parker's daughter. I need to talk to you about my father's case. Mr. Roberts glanced at her briefly, then went back to his computer. Look, kid, I know this is hard for you, but I found evidence, Rose interrupted. She placed her folder on his desk. Evidence that proves my dad is innocent. Mr. Roberts sighed like he'd heard this before. Everyone thinks they have evidence that will save their family member. But the prosecution's case is very strong. The best thing your father can do is plead guilty and hope for No. Rose's voice was firm. My dad is innocent and I can prove it. Will you please just look at what I found? Something in Rose's voice made Mr. Roberts stop typing. He looked at her properly for the first time. Then he looked at Aunt Rachel, who shrugged. 5 minutes, he said. That's all I've got. Rose opened her folder and started showing him everything. The forged signature. The timeline proving Daniel was at the school when the money was withdrawn. The credit card receipt. The email from Mr. Stone about wanting to close the business. As she talked, Mr. Roberts's expression slowly changed. His eyes got wider. He stopped looking bored and started looking interested. Wait, he said, picking up the bank statement. You're saying your father was at a parent-teacher conference during the exact time of the withdrawal? Yes, and I was there. I can testify. And my teacher, Mrs. Adams, she can testify too. She'll remember. Mr. Roberts grabbed another document. And this email. This shows Mr. Stone wanted to end the partnership before the money went missing? He looked up at Rose with something like respect in his eyes. Where did you find all this? In my dad's desk. The police didn't take everything. They missed these papers. Mr. Roberts leaned back in his chair, running his hands through his hair. This actually changes things. Why didn't your father tell me about the parent-teacher conference? He probably didn't remember. He's so scared and sad he's not thinking clearly, Rose said. Mr. Roberts started making notes quickly. Okay, this is good. This is actually really good. The signature analysis might not hold up. Handwriting experts are expensive and take time. But the timeline? The alibi? That's solid. He looked at Rose. You did detective work, kid. Real detective work. Rose felt a warm feeling in her chest. Someone was finally listening. Can you use this to help my dad? She asked hopefully. I'm going to try. I'm going to contact your teacher and get her statement. I'm going to subpoena the coffee shop's records if they still have them. And I'm going to look more carefully at this email. Mr. Roberts actually smiled a little. Your father is lucky to have you. Rose left the office feeling lighter than she had in weeks. But her hope didn't last long. 1 week before the trial, Mr. Roberts called Aunt Rachel with bad news. Rose listened from the other room as her aunt talked on the phone. What do you mean the teacher can't testify? Aunt Rachel said, her voice rising. She was there. She remembers the conference. Rose's heart sank. The school district won't allow it? Why not? Aunt Rachel was quiet, listening. They don't want to get involved in a criminal case? That's ridiculous. A man's freedom is at stake. More silence. And the coffee shop deleted their security footage after 30 days? Of course they did. Aunt Rachel sounded defeated. What about the email? Rose held her breath. The prosecution says it doesn't prove anything? That Mr. Stone had every right to want his money back, and it doesn't prove he framed Daniel. Aunt Rachel sat down heavily on a chair. So what now? What does this mean for the trial? Rose couldn't hear Mr. Roberts's response, but she saw her aunt's face crumple. I see, Aunt Rachel said quietly. Okay. Thank you for trying. She hung up. Rose walked into the room. Aunt Rachel? What happened? Her aunt looked at her with sad eyes. Baby, Mr. Roberts tried to use the evidence you found. He really did. But it's not enough. The school won't let your teacher testify because they don't want the school involved in a court case. The coffee shop doesn't have records from that long ago. And the prosecutors are saying the email doesn't prove your dad is innocent. But it does. It shows Mr. Stone wanted his money back. It shows he had a reason to. I know, honey. I know. But apparently in court you need more than that. You need what they call concrete proof. And without your teacher's testimony or the coffee shop records. Aunt Rachel's voice trailed off. So what's going to happen to Dad? Rose whispered, already knowing the answer. Mr. Roberts says, he says your father should plead guilty. Take a deal. Maybe get less prison time instead of more. No. Rose's eyes filled with tears. No. Dad didn't do anything wrong. He can't go to prison for something he didn't do. Aunt Rachel pulled Rose into a hug. I know, baby. I know it's not fair. But sometimes life isn't fair. But Rose couldn't accept that. She wouldn't accept that. That night, lying in bed in Aunt Rachel's guest room, Rose made her decision. If the adults couldn't save her father, then she would do it herself. She would go to that courtroom. She would stand up. She would show the judge her evidence. She would tell the truth about the parent-teacher conference. She would make them listen. She didn't know if it would work. She didn't know if they would even let her speak. But she had to try. For the next 6 days Rose prepared. She organized all her documents in order. She practiced what she would say, whispering to herself in the mirror when no one was watching. She wrote down every important point on note cards so she wouldn't forget anything when she got nervous. She researched how to address a judge, Your Honor. She learned how to present evidence properly. She watched videos of real court cases to see how people talked and acted. She was just a kid. Just an 11-year-old girl with a folder of papers. But she was also a daughter who loved her father more than anything in the world. And love, she decided, made you brave. The morning of the trial arrived. Rose woke up early and put on her best clothes, the white shirt and blue skirt that her teacher had given her. Aunt Rachel helped her brush her hair and pull it back into a neat ponytail. "You look very nice, honey," Aunt Rachel said, but her eyes were sad. She didn't know about Rose's plan. She thought they were just going to watch the trial and support Daniel. The courthouse was a big building downtown with tall columns and lots of stairs. Inside, everything was made of dark wood and marble. Their footsteps echoed as they walked through the halls. They found the right courtroom, room 4B, and went inside. The courtroom was already filling up with people. There were rows of benches like in a church. At the front was the judge's tall desk and the witness stand. On one side was a table where the prosecutors sat, Mr. James and Ms. Crawford, both looking confident in their expensive suits. On the other side was the defendant's table where Daniel would sit with Mr. Roberts. Rose and Aunt Rachel sat in the third row. Rose clutched her folder against her chest. Her heart was beating so fast she thought everyone could hear it. People kept coming in. Reporters with notebooks. Curious citizens. Court staff. The room got more and more crowded. Then Daniel was brought in. He was wearing handcuffs and the orange jail uniform. He looked so thin, so tired, so defeated. When he saw Rose, his face crumpled and tears filled his eyes. He mouthed the words, "I love you." Rose wanted to run to him, to hug him, but she couldn't. She could only watch as the guard removed his handcuffs and Daniel sat down next to Mr. Roberts at the defendant's table. "All rise," a court officer called out. Everyone stood up as Judge Harrison entered the room in his black robe. He was an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. He sat at his tall desk and looked around the courtroom. "You may be seated," he said in a deep, commanding voice. Everyone sat down. The room fell silent. "We are here today for the case of the state versus Daniel Parker," Judge Harrison said. "Mr. Parker is accused of theft and fraud in the amount of $50,000. Before we begin with opening statements, are there any preliminary matters to address?" Mr. James, the prosecutor, stood up. "No, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready to proceed." Mr. Roberts stood up, looking nervous. "Your Honor, the defense would like to." That's when Rose stood up. Her legs were shaking. Her hands were trembling so hard that her folder nearly slipped from her grip. But she stood up and took a step into the aisle. Every head in the courtroom turned to look at her. Judge Harrison's eyebrows went up. "Young lady, what are you doing?" Rose's voice came out as a whisper at first. "Your Honor, I need to speak." "Sit down, please. This is not the time." "Please?" Rose's voice grew stronger, louder. She took another step forward. "Please, Your Honor. My name is Rose Parker. That man over there is my father." The courtroom began to murmur. People whispered to each other. Rose kept walking toward the front, her small shoes clicking on the floor. She could feel everyone staring at her. She could see her father's shocked face. She could see the prosecutors looking amused. But she kept walking. "Your Honor," she said, her voice clear now, strong now, "I will defend my father myself, because no one else will tell the truth." And that's when the courtroom exploded. People gasped and stood up from their seats. Reporters scribbled frantically in their notebooks. Someone in the back shouted, "Did that little girl just say she's going to defend her father?" "Order! Order!" Judge Harrison banged his gavel hard. Crack, crack, crack. The sound echoed through the room. "Everyone sit down and be quiet." The noise died down, but people still whispered to each other. Mr. James jumped to his feet, his face red. "Your Honor, this is absolutely ridiculous. The child needs to sit down immediately." Ms. Crawford stood up too. "We cannot allow this circus to continue. There are rules and procedures." I said order. Judge Harrison banged his gavel again. His sharp eyes fixed on Rose, who stood frozen in the middle of the aisle, clutching her folder. Daniel had his hands over his face, tears streaming through his fingers. Mr. Roberts looked completely shocked, his mouth hanging open. The judge leaned forward. "Young lady, come here." Rose's legs felt like rubber, but she walked to the front of the courtroom until she stood directly in front of the judge's tall desk. She had to tilt her head way back to look up at him. "What is your name?" Judge Harrison asked, his voice softer now but still serious. "Rose Parker, Your Honor." Her voice shook only a little. "And how old are you, Rose?" 11, Your Honor." Judge Harrison removed his glasses and cleaned them slowly, studying Rose's face. The entire courtroom was silent, waiting. "Rose," the judge said carefully, "do you understand what's happening here today? This is a criminal trial. Your father is accused of a very serious crime. This is not a game or a school project." "I know, Your Honor," Rose said. "And I know I'm just a kid. But I found evidence. Real evidence that proves my dad didn't do what they say he did. And nobody will listen to me because I'm just 11 years old." The judge was quiet for a moment. "What kind of evidence?" Rose held up her folder. "Documents that show the signature on the withdrawal form is fake. Bank statements that prove my dad was somewhere else when the money was taken. An email that shows Mr. Stone wanted his money back before any of this happened. And my testimony. I was with my dad when they say he was stealing the money. I can prove he's innocent." Mr. James stood up again. "Your Honor, please. This is beyond inappropriate. The child is not a lawyer. She cannot present evidence or examine witnesses. This entire spectacle is wasting the court's time." "Mr. James," Judge Harrison said calmly, "I've been doing this job for 32 years. I've seen a lot of things. But I've never seen an 11-year-old girl walk into my courtroom with evidence that she claims her father's own lawyer missed." He looked at Mr. Roberts. "Mr. Roberts, did you know about this evidence?" Mr. Roberts stood up nervously. "Your Honor, Miss Parker did bring some documents to my attention 2 weeks ago. I attempted to investigate, but encountered obstacles with witness availability and so there is evidence that hasn't been properly examined?" The judge's eyebrows went up. "Well, yes, Your Honor, but..." Judge Harrison held up his hand for silence. He looked back at Rose, then at Daniel, then at the crowded courtroom. Everyone watched him, waiting for his decision. Finally he spoke. "I'm going to do something highly unusual," the judge said. "Miss Parker, you cannot serve as your father's attorney. That would be illegal. However..." He paused. "I'm going to allow you to testify as a witness. You may present your documents as evidence. And you may answer questions about what you know." "Your Honor, I object." Mr. James's voice was loud. Your objection is noted, Mr. James. But this is my courtroom and I want to see what this child has to say. If her evidence is worthless, we'll know soon enough. But if there's even a chance that relevant facts have been overlooked." He looked directly at the prosecutor. "Then it's our duty to examine them. Justice is more important than convenience. Sit down." Mr. James sat, but his face was red with anger. Judge Harrison looked at Rose again. "Mr. Roberts will help you. You will address me as Your Honor, at all times. You will tell only the truth. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor." Rose's voice was strong now. Hope filled her chest. "Bailiff, swear in the witness," the judge said. A court officer walked over to Rose and asked her to raise her right hand. "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" "I do," Rose said firmly. "You may sit in the witness stand." Rose walked to the witness stand, a special chair next to the judge's desk with a microphone in front of it. She had to climb up onto the seat because it was so high. Once she sat down, she placed her folder on the little shelf in front of her. The entire courtroom was staring at her. She could see her father crying quietly. She could see Aunt Rachel with her hands pressed to her mouth. She could see the reporters leaning forward, not wanting to miss a single word. She was terrified. But she was also ready. Judge Harrison nodded to her. "Miss Parker, you may begin. Tell the court what you know." Rose took a deep breath. She opened her folder and pulled out her first document, the withdrawal form with the forged signature. "Your Honor," she began, her voice clear through the microphone, "my dad didn't steal any money. And I can prove it." For the next hour, Rose presented her evidence piece by piece. She showed the withdrawal form to the judge and explained how the signature was wrong. "My dad has signed hundreds of papers for me, permission slips, report cards, birthday cards. I know his signature. The D in Daniel is always sharp and pointy like a triangle. But look at this one, it's round like a circle. And the P in Parker is always big and swoopy. But this one is small and cramped. Someone tried to copy his signature, but they didn't get it exactly right." Mr. James objected. "Your Honor, the child is not a handwriting expert. Her opinion about signatures is meaningless." But Judge Harrison leaned forward, studying the document carefully through his glasses. The court will consider her testimony along with all other evidence. Continue, Miss Parker. Next, Rose presented the bank statement. This paper shows that the $50,000 was taken from the bank on March 15th at exactly 2:30 in the afternoon. But my dad wasn't at the bank that day. He was with me. Where was he? Judge Harrison asked. At my school, Your Honor. He came for a parent-teacher conference with my teacher, Mrs. Adams. The meeting was from 2 to 3 o'clock. My dad couldn't be at the bank taking money if he was at my school talking to my teacher. Murmurs went through the courtroom. This was new information that even the prosecutors looked surprised to hear. Do you have proof of this conference? The judge asked. My teacher remembers, Your Honor. But the school won't let her testify. Rose's voice got a little frustrated. They said they don't want to be involved. But I have something else. She pulled out the credit card statement. After the parent-teacher conference, my dad took me to the coffee shop next to the school. He bought me a hot chocolate. Look, right here on his credit card statement. March 15th, 2:47 p.m., corner coffee shop, 412 Oak Street. That's the coffee shop by my school. That's 15 minutes after someone was supposedly at the bank taking money. And the bank is on the other side of town. It takes 30 minutes to drive there. She could see Judge Harrison making notes. His expression was serious, focused. Mr. Roberts stood up, finally finding his courage. Your Honor, if I may, the defense would like to formally submit these documents as evidence. The credit card statement proves Mr. Parker was across town at the exact time of the alleged theft. The prosecution would like to examine these documents, Mr. James said, standing up. You'll get your chance during cross-examination, Judge Harrison said. Let the witness finish. Miss Parker, is there more? Yes, Your Honor. Rose pulled out the email. This is an email from Mr. Stone, the man who accused my dad of stealing, to my dad. It's dated February 20th. That's 3 weeks before the money disappeared. In the email, Mr. Stone says he wants his money back. He says the partnership isn't working and he wants to close the business. She looked up at the judge, her eyes passionate. Don't you see, Your Honor? Mr. Stone wanted his money back. He said so himself. So what if he took his own money out of the bank, then blamed my dad for it? Then my dad would go to jail, and Mr. Stone would have his money, and he could even sue my dad for more. The courtroom exploded with whispers again. People were talking excitedly to each other. Order. Judge Harrison banged his gavel. He looked at the prosecutors. Mr. James, Miss Crawford, were you aware of this email? Mr. James looked uncomfortable. Your Honor, that email is not relevant. Mr. Stone had every right to want to dissolve the partnership. It doesn't prove. It proves motive. Rose interrupted, forgetting she was supposed to wait to be asked questions. It proves Mr. Stone had a reason to take his own money and blame my dad. Miss Parker, Judge Harrison said gently, please wait for questions before speaking. But he looked at the prosecutors again. She has a point. This email does establish that Mr. Stone wanted to end the business relationship. Combined with the timeline evidence showing Mr. Parker couldn't have been at the bank, I'm very interested to hear Mr. Stone's testimony. Miss Crawford stood up. Your Honor, Mr. Stone is our key witness. He's scheduled to testify this afternoon. He'll be able to explain everything. I'm sure he will, the judge said. He looked at Rose. Miss Parker, is there anything else? Rose nodded. Just one more thing, Your Honor. My dad is the most honest person I know. He would never ever steal. Not even $1. He taught me that honesty is more important than money. He taught me that your reputation and your word are all you really have. A man who taught his daughter those things wouldn't throw them away by stealing. He just wouldn't. Her voice cracked a little. My dad is innocent. And all I'm asking is that you look at the evidence. Really look at it. Don't let an innocent man go to jail. Please. The courtroom was completely silent. Judge Harrison looked at Rose for a long moment. There was something in his eyes. Respect, maybe, or sadness, or both. Mr. James, the judge said, you may cross-examine the witness. Mr. James stood up slowly. He walked toward Rose with a confident smile on his face. He thought he could break her testimony easily. After all, she was just a child. Miss Parker, he said in a smooth voice, you love your father very much, don't you? Yes, sir. And you'd do anything to help him? Yes, sir. So isn't it possible that you're just seeing what you want to see? That you're so desperate to believe your father is innocent that you're imagining evidence that isn't really there? Rose looked him straight in the eye. No, sir. I'm not imagining anything. The documents are real. The credit card statement is real. The email is real. And I was really at that parent-teacher conference with my dad. Those are facts, not imagination. Mr. James's smile faded a little. But you're not a handwriting expert. You can't really know if that signature is forged. Maybe not for sure, Rose admitted. But I know my dad's handwriting better than anyone. And that signature looks wrong to me. You could get a real handwriting expert to check if you wanted to know the truth. Some people in the courtroom chuckled quietly. Mr. James's face reddened. And this credit card receipt, how do we know your father didn't just give you his credit card to use while he went to the bank? Because I was with him, Rose said firmly. I was sitting right next to him in the coffee shop, drinking hot chocolate while he drank coffee. We were together the whole time. Mr. James tried a few more questions, but Rose had an answer for everything. She didn't get confused. She didn't contradict herself. She just told the simple truth. Finally, Mr. James gave up. No further questions, he said, sitting down with a frustrated expression. You may step down, Miss Parker, Judge Harrison said. Rose climbed down from the witness stand and walked back to sit with Aunt Rachel. Her whole body was shaking now that it was over. Aunt Rachel grabbed her hand and squeezed it tight, tears running down her face. You were amazing, Aunt Rachel whispered. Judge Harrison addressed the courtroom. We'll take a 15-minute recess. When we return, I want to hear from Mr. Richard Stone. During the recess, the courtroom buzzed with excitement. Reporters rushed out to make phone calls. People gathered in small groups, whispering about what they just witnessed. Rose sat with Aunt Rachel in their seats, her hands still trembling from the adrenaline. You did so good, baby, Aunt Rachel kept saying, hugging her tight. So good. Daniel's lawyer, Mr. Roberts, came over to them with a surprised but hopeful expression. Miss Parker, that was remarkable. Truly remarkable. You've given us a real chance. Do you think the judge believes me? Rose asked anxiously. I think he's taking you very seriously. More seriously than I expected, to be honest. Mr. Roberts glanced toward where the prosecutors were having an intense, whispered conversation in the corner. And I think Mr. James is worried. Which is a very good sign. Rose looked across the courtroom to where her father sat at the defendant's table. A guard stood nearby, but Daniel had turned in his seat to look at her. His face was wet with tears, but he was smiling, really smiling, for the first time in months. He put his hand over his heart and mouthed, I'm so proud of you. Rose felt warmth spread through her chest. No matter what happened next, at least her father knew she had fought for him. At least he knew she believed in him. The 15 minutes passed quickly. Soon the bailiff called out, all rise. Everyone stood as Judge Harrison returned to his seat. Once he sat down, everyone else sat too. We will now hear testimony from the prosecution's key witness, Judge Harrison said. Bailiff, bring in Mr. Richard Stone. The courtroom doors opened and Mr. Stone walked in. He looked exactly as Rose remembered, tall and confident, wearing an expensive gray suit that probably cost more than her father made in months. His gray hair was perfectly combed. His shoes were shiny. He wore a gold watch that glinted in the courtroom lights. But as he walked to the witness stand, Rose noticed something. He didn't look as confident as he usually did. His eyes darted around the courtroom nervously. When his gaze passed over Rose, his jaw tightened. He knows, Rose thought. He knows I found the email. He knows I was at the parent-teacher conference. He's scared. The bailiff swore Mr. Stone in, and he sat down in the witness stand, adjusting his tie. Mr. James stood up to question him. Mr. Stone, please state your name and occupation for the record. Richard Stone. I'm a businessman and investor. I own several properties and businesses in the city. And you were in a business partnership with the defendant, Daniel Parker? Yes, unfortunately. Mr. Stone's voice was smooth, practiced. I trusted Mr. Parker completely. That trust was betrayed. Please tell the court what happened. Mr. Stone sighed dramatically, like he was very sad about the whole thing. I met Daniel about a year ago. He was working as an accountant and I was impressed by his skills. I suggested we start a business together, Stone and Parker Financial Services. I invested $50,000 of my own money to get the company started. Daniel's job was to manage that money responsibly. He paused, shaking his head. For the first 2 months, everything seemed fine. But then I started noticing irregularities. Daniel was being secretive about the finances. He wouldn't show me complete records. When I pressed him about it, he became defensive. What happened next? Mr. James prompted. On March 20th, I went to check the business bank account. The $50,000 was gone. Completely gone. When I confronted Daniel, he claimed he didn't know what happened. But the bank showed me withdrawal records with his signature. He had taken my money. And how did that make you feel? Devastated. Betrayed. I had trusted this man. I had given him an opportunity to build something meaningful, and he stole from me. Mr. Stone's voice sounded hurt and sad. Several people in the courtroom nodded sympathetically. Mr. Stone was a good actor, Rose realized. He sounded completely sincere. No further questions, Mr. James said, sitting down with a satisfied look. Judge Harrison looked at Mr. Roberts. Does the defense wish to cross-examine? Mr. Roberts stood up, looking more confident now than he had all day. Yes, Your Honor. Very much so. He walked toward Mr. Stone with Rose's folder in his hand. Mr. Stone, you said you noticed irregularities in the finances. Can you be specific about what those irregularities were? Mr. Stone shifted in his seat. Just things that didn't add up. Expenses that seemed too high. Money being moved around. But you never mentioned any of this to the police in your initial report, did you? Well, I was focused on the main issue. The theft. I see. Mr. Roberts pulled out a document. Mr. Stone, I'm showing you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit C. This is an email from you to Mr. Parker dated February 20th. Can you read the highlighted portion for the court? Mr. Stone's face paled slightly. He took the paper and read in a tight voice, "This partnership isn't working out the way I hoped. I'm going to need my initial investment back soon." You wanted your money back, Mr. Roberts said. 3 weeks before you accused Mr. Parker of stealing it. That's not. I just meant eventually. When we closed the business properly. But you didn't close the business properly, did you? Instead, you withdrew your money and blamed Mr. Parker for its disappearance. Objection. Mr. James jumped up. Speculation and badgering the witness. Sustained, Judge Harrison said. Mr. Roberts, rephrase your question. Mr. Stone, did you withdraw that $50,000 from the account? No. Absolutely not. Mr. Stone's voice rose. Then who did? Daniel Parker did. The bank records prove it. Mr. Roberts pulled out another document. The bank records show the money was withdrawn on March 15th at 2:30 p.m. Where were you at that time? I don't remember. That was months ago. You don't remember? This was $50,000 of your money. The day it was stolen. And you don't remember where you were. Mr. Stone's face was getting red now. I was probably at one of my properties. I own several buildings. I'm a busy man. So you have no alibi for the time of the theft? I don't need an alibi. I'm the victim here. Are you? Mr. Roberts's voice was sharp now. Because Mr. Parker has an alibi. He was at his daughter's school for a parent-teacher conference. And 15 minutes after the money was withdrawn, his credit card was used at a coffee shop next to that school. He has a receipt. He has witnesses. He was nowhere near the bank. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Mr. Stone's eyes widened. That's impossible, Mr. Stone stammered. Is it? Or is it impossible because you're the one who actually withdrew the money? Objection. Mr. James was on his feet again. Your Honor, Mr. Roberts said quickly, the defense believes Mr. Stone had motive, means, and opportunity to frame Mr. Parker. He wanted his money back. His own email proves it. He had access to the account. And he has no alibi for when the theft occurred. Judge Harrison leaned forward, his sharp eyes fixed on Mr. Stone. Mr. Stone, I want you to think very carefully before you answer my next question. Did you forge Daniel Parker's signature on that withdrawal form? The courtroom went completely silent. Everyone held their breath. Mr. Stone's face was bright red now. Sweat beaded on his forehead. His hands gripped the arms of the witness chair. No, I didn't. But his voice wavered. He didn't sound sure anymore. He didn't sound confident. Judge Harrison studied him for a long moment. Mr. Stone, if you lie under oath in my courtroom, that is perjury. Perjury is a serious crime that carries prison time. Do you understand? Mr. Stone swallowed hard. His confident businessman mask was cracking. His eyes darted to the door like he was thinking about running. Mr. Stone, the judge said firmly, I'm going to ask you one more time. Did you take that money? The silence stretched out. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 15 seconds. Mr. Stone's hands were shaking now. His face had gone from red to pale. He looked like he might be sick. He started. Everyone in the courtroom leaned forward. Mr. Stone tried again. Then suddenly his shoulders slumped. All the fight went out of him. He put his face in his hands. Yes, he whispered. The courtroom exploded. People gasped and shouted. Reporters jumped up. The bailiff had to yell for order. Judge Harrison banged his gavel repeatedly. Order. Order in this court. Mr. Stone kept his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking. When he finally looked up, tears were running down his cheeks, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of guilt and shame and defeat. Yes, he said louder, his voice breaking. Yes, I took the money. I forged Daniel's signature. I set him up. Rose felt like her heart might burst out of her chest. She grabbed Aunt Rachel's hand and squeezed it tight. Tears streamed down both their faces. Daniel had his hands over his mouth, his whole body shaking with sobs of relief. Judge Harrison's face was stern and angry. Mr. Stone, you will explain yourself. Now, why did you frame an innocent man? Mr. Stone wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. All his confidence was gone. He looked small and pathetic now. I was in debt, he said quietly. Bad investments. I owed dangerous people a lot of money. I needed that $50,000 back, but I also needed more. I thought if I could frame Daniel, I could sue him for damages, maybe get more money from his family or a settlement. And the people I owed would think the money was gone, stolen, so they'd stop demanding payment. He looked at Daniel with something that might have been regret. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You trusted me and I destroyed your life. I destroyed your daughter's life. All because I was a coward who couldn't face my own mistakes. The courtroom was silent now except for the sound of people crying, happy tears, angry tears, sad tears all mixed together. Judge Harrison's voice was cold as ice. Bailiff, take Mr. Stone into custody. He is under arrest for perjury, fraud, and theft. Mr. James, Miss Crawford, you will immediately file to dismiss all charges against Daniel Parker. Yes, Your Honor, Mr. James said quietly, looking embarrassed and defeated. The bailiff put handcuffs on Mr. Stone. As they led him away, he looked one more time at Rose. You're a brave girl, he said softly. Braver than I ever was. Then he was gone. Judge Harrison banged his gavel one final time. All charges against Daniel Parker are hereby dismissed, he announced. Mr. Parker, you are free to go. This court apologizes for the injustice you have suffered. The courtroom erupted in applause. People stood up, clapping and cheering. Some were crying. Reporters rushed out to share the news. Daniel stood up slowly, like he couldn't quite believe what was happening. The bailiff removed his handcuffs. For the first time in months, Daniel's hands were free. Dad! Rose shouted. She jumped up from her seat and ran down the aisle. Rose? Daniel's voice broke as he opened his arms. Rose crashed into her father, wrapping her arms around him as tight as she could. Daniel fell to his knees and held her, sobbing into her shoulder. You did it, baby girl, he cried. You saved me. You saved us. I love you, Dad, Rose said through her tears. I love you so much. I love you too, sweetheart. More than anything in this world. They held each other while the courtroom watched, many people wiping tears from their own eyes. Even Judge Harrison had to remove his glasses and dab at his eyes with a handkerchief. Aunt Rachel rushed over and joined the hug, crying and laughing at the same time. Thank God. Thank God you're okay. Mr. Roberts came over too, smiling wider than anyone had ever seen him smile. Mr. Parker, you have an extraordinary daughter. She did what I couldn't do. She found the truth and made everyone listen. Daniel pulled back and looked at Rose, holding her face gently in his hands. You're my hero, Rose. Do you know that? You're the bravest, smartest, most amazing person I've ever known. Judge Harrison cleared his throat. Everyone turned to look at him. He was standing now, looking down at them from his high desk. Miss Parker, he said, his stern face softening into something almost like a smile. Approach the bench, please. Rose walked up to stand in front of the judge, suddenly nervous again. Had she done something wrong? Judge Harrison looked at her with warm, kind eyes. Young lady, in my 32 years as a judge, I have seen hundreds of lawyers. Some good, some bad, some in between. But I have never seen anyone fight for justice the way you did today. He paused, his voice growing thick with emotion. You believed in the truth when no one else did. You did the hard work that others were too lazy or too scared to do. You stood up in this courtroom with nothing but love for your father and a folder full of evidence, and you refused to be silenced. The judge leaned forward. The law says you're too young to be a lawyer. But in your heart, in your spirit, you have more justice in you than most lawyers will ever have. If you keep studying, keep learning, keep caring about truth and fairness the way you do now, one day you could be standing where I'm standing. You could be a lawyer or a judge or whatever you want to be. And you would be magnificent. Rose felt tears rolling down her cheeks again. Thank you, Your Honor. No, Miss Parker. Thank you. You reminded me why I became a judge in the first place. To find the truth. To protect the innocent. To serve justice. He smiled, a real warm smile. Don't ever lose that fire inside you. The world needs people like you. Rose nodded, unable to speak because of the lump in her throat. Judge Harrison addressed the whole courtroom one last time. Let this case be a lesson to everyone. Sometimes the smallest voice can reveal the biggest truth. Sometimes a child can see clearly what adults have missed. And sometimes, love and determination are stronger than any corruption or lie. He banged his gavel gently. This court is adjourned. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when Rose, Daniel, and Aunt Rachel came outside. Cameras flashed. Microphones were thrust toward them. Mr. Parker. How does it feel to be free? Rose? How did you figure out your father was innocent? What will you do now? Daniel held Rose's hand tight as they walked through the crowd. He stopped halfway down the steps and turned to face the cameras. I want to say something, he said, his voice still hoarse from crying. For 7 months I lived in hell. I was innocent, but no one believed me. I thought I would lose everything, my freedom, my daughter, my life. He looked down at Rose with so much love it hurt. But this little girl never stopped believing in me. When everyone else gave up, she fought. She investigated. She found the truth. An 11-year-old child did what trained lawyers and police couldn't or wouldn't do. His voice grew stronger. I'm free today because my daughter loved me enough to fight for me. She's the strongest, bravest person I know. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to be the father she deserves. The reporters scribbled furiously. More cameras flashed. One reporter called out, Rose? What do you want to say? Rose looked at all the cameras and microphones. She thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the sadness, the lonely nights, the hard work, the moment when Mr. Stone finally confessed. I just want to say, if you love someone, never give up on them. When everyone told me my dad was guilty, I didn't believe it. Because I knew him. I knew his heart. And love helped me see the truth. She paused, thinking of other kids who might be watching this on the news, kids whose parents or family members might be in trouble. If someone you love is being treated unfairly, don't just sit there and cry. Do something. Ask questions. Look for answers. Even if you're just a kid, your voice matters. The truth matters. And sometimes the smallest person can make the biggest difference. The reporters clapped. Some of them had tears in their eyes too. As they walked down the rest of the steps toward Aunt Rachel's car, people on the sidewalk called out to them. God bless you, little girl. You're a hero, sweetheart. Your daughter is amazing, sir. Amazing. That evening, Daniel and Rose returned to their apartment for the first time in months. The apartment was dusty and cold, but it was home. Daniel unlocked the door, then picked Rose up and carried her inside. We're home, sweetheart, he whispered. We're finally home. They spent the evening cleaning together, talking and laughing, just happy to be together again. Daniel made spaghetti for dinner, Rose's favorite. They ate at their small kitchen table, and it felt like the most delicious meal Rose had ever had. After dinner, Daniel tucked Rose into her own bed for the first time in months. He sat on the edge of the bed just like he used to and held her hand. Dad. Rose said quietly. Yes, sweetheart. What happens to Mr. Stone now? Daniel sighed. He'll go to trial. He'll probably go to prison for a long time. What he did was very wrong. Do you hate him? Daniel was quiet for a moment. I'm angry at what he did. He almost destroyed our lives. But hate? No. Hate takes too much energy, and I'd rather spend my energy loving you and rebuilding our life. He brushed hair from Rose's forehead. Mr. Stone made terrible choices because he was scared and desperate. I hope he learns from this. I hope he becomes a better person. But mostly, I just hope we can move forward and leave all of this behind us. Me too, Rose said with a yawn. Daniel smiled. You must be exhausted. You fought a whole trial today. It was pretty tiring, Rose admitted with a small laugh. Daniel leaned down and kissed her forehead. Get some sleep, my brave girl. Tomorrow is a new day. A fresh start. He started to stand up, but Rose grabbed his hand. Dad? Will you pray with me? Like we used to. Daniel's eyes filled with tears again, but they were happy tears now. Of course, baby. Of course. He knelt beside her bed and held her hand, just like he'd done 1,000 times before. Thank you, Daniel prayed softly, for protecting us. Thank you for giving Rose the courage and wisdom she needed. Thank you for the truth finally being revealed. Thank you for bringing us home. And thank you, Rose added, for never giving up on us even when things were really hard. Please help Mr. Stone learn to be better. And please help other families who are going through hard things like we did. Amen, they said together. Daniel tucked the blanket around Rose and kissed her one more time. I love you, sweetheart. Sweet dreams. Love you too, Dad. Good night. Daniel turned off the light and started to leave, but he paused in the doorway and looked back at Rose one more time. His daughter, his hero, sleeping peacefully in her own bed, finally safe, finally home. Life slowly returned to normal, but it was a better normal than before. Daniel got his old job back at the accounting firm. His boss apologized for not believing in him and even gave him a raise. We should have known you'd never do something like that, his boss said. You're the most honest man I know. The story of Rose's courtroom victory spread far and wide. News articles were written about her. She was invited to speak at schools and community centers. People called her the little lawyer, or the child justice warrior. But Rose didn't let it go to her head. She just kept going to school, doing her homework and being a normal kid, though her classmates treated her like a celebrity now, and she had more friends than ever before. One Saturday afternoon there was a knock on their apartment door. Daniel opened it to find Judge Harrison standing there, not wearing his judge's robe but dressed in casual clothes, khaki pants and a blue sweater. He looked different, more like a grandfather than a stern judge. Judge Harrison, Daniel said in surprise. Please come in. The judge stepped inside and smiled at Rose, who was doing homework at the kitchen table. Hello, Miss Parker. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Not at all, Your Honor, Rose said, standing up politely. Please, outside of court, you can call me Mr. Harrison. He reached into his bag and pulled out a book. I brought you something. I thought you might enjoy it. It was a thick book titled Great Trials in American History. The cover showed a courtroom drawing from long ago. I read this when I was in law school, Judge Harrison said. It's full of stories about people who fought for justice against impossible odds. People who refused to give up just like you. I thought you might find it inspiring. Rose took the book carefully like it was made of gold. Thank you so much, Mr. Harrison. I'll read every page. The judge smiled. I believe you will. He looked at Daniel. Mr. Parker, you have a very special daughter. I meant what I said in court. If she wants to pursue law or justice in any form, she has a bright future ahead of her. She can be anything she wants to be, Daniel said proudly, putting his arm around Rose. And whatever she chooses, I'll support her every step of the way. Judge Harrison nodded with satisfaction. Good. That's very good. He headed toward the door, then turned back. Oh, and you should know, Mr. Stone pleaded guilty to all charges. He'll serve 8 years in prison. And he's agreed to pay full restitution, including compensation for your legal troubles and lost wages. Daniel's eyebrows went up. I wasn't expecting that. Justice, the judge said simply. Real justice. Thanks to your daughter, the truth came out and the right person is being punished. That's how the system is supposed to work. After Judge Harrison left, Rose sat on the couch with her new book. Daniel sat beside her. Dad, Rose asked, do you think I should be a lawyer when I grow up? Daniel thought for a moment. I think you should be whatever makes you happy, sweetheart. A lawyer, a teacher, a doctor, an artist, whatever you choose, you'll be amazing at it. Because you have something special inside you. You have courage and compassion and a love for truth. Those qualities will make you successful no matter what path you take. Rose leaned against her father's shoulder. I think maybe I do want to be a lawyer. Or a judge. So I can help other people like you helped me. Like Judge Harrison helps people. Then that's what you'll be, Daniel said, kissing the top of her head. And when you're standing in a courtroom one day defending someone who needs help, I'll be in the audience watching and thinking, that's my daughter. That's my brave, brilliant, beautiful daughter who once saved my life. Rose smiled. We saved each other, Dad. That's what family does. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed creating it. Like, share and comment on the lessons you've learned. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. See you in my next video.